So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for clicking on and registering for this PR Hour Live. This is a training session, so we do some PR Hour Lives where it's really completely open to you, and it's your kind of format. It's there to help guide you in anything. It might be you've got a press release you want us to review. You might just have some questions about strategy with PR or just getting started, or you might have had a press release that just hasn't worked. We're here to kind of help you, or that's what I want to try and do. But this PR Hour Live training is really focused on a bit of a splash session to bring you up to date with a certain topic. And today's topic is why press packs and why we use them. So we've got the wonderful Amanda. And Amanda, I'll get you to introduce yourself before we dive in, so people kind of know your background and why you're good at this and why you're kind of like good to talk to us about this. So, perhaps before we go into press packs, what it is, if you can tell everybody what you do and your experience, how you've helped people.
Yeah, okay, so I'm Amanda. I'm a freelance PR person, and I have been in the charitable sector for about 25 years now, both in-house. I've worked in fundraising and sort of marketing departments, but prior to that I was a garden designer. So I've also done all the press around not only Chelsea Flower Show Garden, but also BBC Gardeners World Live, and really been at like big events where you've got to sort of like have some content and have things to give to journalists. So on a day-to-day basis, I could be like, today I've been doing a Christmas catalogue. It's very late, very stressful, or I could be doing like digital comms, or I could be doing sort of PR. So yeah, very sort of wide base, but I tend to work with charities and smaller businesses. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell, really.
Brilliant. And we were talking about really how we can help everybody get prepared for journalists and make the most of that. And one of the things that's come up is press packs and why to use them. So I'm going to kind of leave it open to you, but maybe I can ask you questions as we go along. So, first and foremost, what is a press pack?
What is a press pack? Yeah, what is a press pack? Well, when I first started out, a press pack was literally a pack with lots of papers in it, which you would give to the journalist at an event. So if you were doing like a conference or a trade show, you would get all your bits and pieces together. And now, obviously, we can do that digitally in lots of ways, and we're going to talk about that. But the difference really is when you write a press release, you've got that millisecond to get a journalist on board. You've got to be really snappy in that sort of first headline, that first paragraph. You've got to use all your tools to grab their attention as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Whereas a media pack or a press pack basically gives them lots of background. You give them facts and figures, you give them background information, images and samples, stuff like that. So actually, if they're really interested in your story, they don't have to keep coming backwards and forwards to you. It's all there for them.
So similar to bio sheet.
So, yeah. I suppose it is. Yeah. I think what it gives you is the capacity to really tell a story in a much longer way, a wider way. So you might, if you're doing a new product launch, you might put products in there. But if you're using the pack digitally, you put the images in there. It's giving the journalists a lot more information. Once they're interested in you, then they've got everything there for you.
Fantastic. Sorry, we've got a bit of a slight delay. I feel like I'm in LA and you're, up north or something like that.
I know you're in LA and I'm
wish.
in the cold north.
I wish. So do people really... Sorry, and we're losing you a little bit. So sorry, guys.
Sorry. Okay.
Yes.
Hi, Pamela. Pamela's just joined. Hi.
No. Sorry guys, it's a bit frustrating, is it? Because we can't really hear.
Yeah.
Can you put your thumbs up if you're hearing okay, or thumbs down if you're not hearing so good? Thumbs down, right? Okay, so we're not hearing so good, which is
okay.
there's a delay. I think, Amanda, when we're hearing it, I don't know if it's the internet connection. If this carries on, what we'll make sure is we will get this information from you, and we really do value your time. So
yeah, I'm just going to move round and see if that helps.
Okay, well, you never know, that might do. Okay, so businesses still use, like, at what point, what size business needs a press pack, and do journalists still use them now in this digital age?
Yeah, I think definitely. So if you really want to have a look at some of the big packs, John Lewis, for instance, if you go on, they have a media center. If you go on there, you can download their media press packs. So it's obviously not paper anymore, but it's digital, and everything there will be there for journalists covering, John Lewis's launch of their Christmas campaigns. There's sort of always, they have their little film, don't they? And their products. So yes, really big organisations do use them. At what point would you need one? I would say as soon as you've written a press release. Once you're writing press releases, once you've decided that you want to engage with a journalist, get that information ready, because they're going to, if they're interested in your story, they're going to come and ask you anyway all these facts and figures. So I would say definitely have something ready. Yes. So if I just go through what you should include, really, I think it's probably the best thing.
Yeah, brilliant.
So you definitely want something like a biog, so background information. You want, your story behind your business or your organisation. Yeah. Facts and figures, how long you've been going, why have you started the business, what you're trying to do with your business. You might have a personal bio as well. So I'm just thinking, just trying to think of an example off the top of my head, but where a business is really about somebody's personal journey for why they want to push forward their business. So you'd have a bit about the business and a bit about that person and their background story. Yeah. You'd have things like your logos, images from product images, headshots, lifestyle shots. So if you are marketing, let's say, handmade soaps and bathroom accessories, have some shots, but have some nice lifestyle shots where journalists can just pick up those images and run with them. They're not going to have to come back to you and say, well, have you got any shots of that soap? You're going to provide it all for them. And obviously contact information. You want, sort of when they can get hold of you and how. Other things that you could put in there, case studies. So if we use the soap analogy, so if your range of soaps is specifically for gardeners or for mechanics, for instance, have some case studies in there. Have, this hotel has used my soaps because they're sustainably sourced. Have some case studies in there. If you're already doing some press and media coverage, put those in there. Put all your latest press releases in, and also some sort of successes as well. I know, Rachel, when you're talking, you have that great image with all the stories that you had for your magazine. You have them all in one place. Put those in. Show how successful you are. Show the sort of stories that you have had in the media. You might want to do some annual accounts for charities in particular. They might have annual accounts in there, or their annual report rather, just to show some background. You might have some frequently asked questions. So if we go back to the soap analogy, you might have frequently asked questions around how's soap made, why is it sustainable, where can I buy it, all those sort of things. So if you've already got some of that on your website, you can use that content. If you've got some award wins, put those in. I mean, you've got to blow your own trumpet here. And then you know, you might have some podcasts, you might do your own tutorials online. And if you're using a digital pack, of course, you just link these in. And then obviously if you're doing a physical pack you're going to give to somebody, you can put samples in. You know, you use the soap analogy. If you're at the Country Living gift show and you're giving your packs out, you can give them with soaps as well. So it's really an all-round sort of background information for journalists. That sounds like quite a lot. We've got a list that we can send out, haven't we, Rachel, that we can, you know, it's got all of this in that I'm quite happy to sort of share that. It's like a bit of a tick list, really.
Yeah.
So that's what you can include in there. Are you going to ask me a question? Sorry.
No, I was going to say it's really useful. And I think sometimes, you know, especially when we're kind of startups and we're just new to it, we haven't got budgets for people to help us design. But if anybody's not used it before, Canva's absolutely brilliant and is relatively low cost to use. I think there's a free version as well. And they actually have a media kit in there, I've checked it, that's already laid out. And so I'm just going to screen share with everybody. If everybody can see this screen share. Can you see this now, Amanda, still?
Yeah, I can see it, yeah.
Okay, so this is just a screen share of a kind of a press kit as an example of what people put in. So just perhaps, you know, talk, I mean, this is pretty much covering off what Amanda's talked about, you know, so it's literally the basics, putting your name in, you know, some stories and facts about what you're doing and linking it down, but making sure it looks like design, looks really nice. Yeah. If you go into Canva, you'll see some of these already set up, which is absolutely so, you know, you're saving yourself design fees, aren't you, by using
Oh gosh, Canva is such an amazing tool for everything that you do. I use it all the time, and you've got access to some great images and some ideas as well. So if design isn't your thing, you can use their templates, and for this sort of thing, absolutely brilliant, and really helps you present your pack in a really professional way. So one of the things is how can you make it really accessible? So you, for instance, you sent out a press release sort of 2:00 in the afternoon. Your journalist is a freelance journalist. She comes to it at sort of like 8:00 in the evening because that's when she does her work. And you're not going to be around for them to ask, well, oh, can you send me your press pack? You could have a hidden page on your website so that you just have that as a link, and you send that with your press release, and that will give them access into your media area, into your press pack area. It's hidden from the sort of like your homepage, but actually with that.
Oh, well, there you go. Don't you just love technology? Well, that's actually a good idea. I wouldn't have thought to do that. We've lost. I feel like I'm one of those news reporters. We've lost Amanda. Oh, she's come back. Amanda, we lost you then for a minute. You were saying that you could potentially hide the some of the information, which I quite like that idea, especially the sensitive information you don't want the competitors to read. But maybe you could put like a press page still, and then you could kind of just send and have 2 pages, one that just highlights a few of the things, but then you have a more detailed press pack for the journalist. Would that work?
I just missed what you were saying there, but I just caught the end of it.
So we've lost you. So we've lost your video.
Yeah,
so forgive me, and again, apologies everybody. Hopefully you're finding the content useful. But in terms of, you said, you know, you could hide it, and I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Because obviously what you're doing is you're going into detail about your business, your product, your services, your case studies that you might not particularly want to share with all and everybody. But if you're sending it specifically to journalists, it's great, they can find it. So what I suggested was, I like a press page on a website if you're trying to be media savvy with your contact details and a little bit, you know, and then they could perhaps send a private link with further information. That could work.
And lots of big businesses do that, and they have for media inquiries, and lots of charities do that as well. So when I worked at John Ambulance, you know, we had some standard stuff on there. some key messages on there, what we're about, some mission and vision stuff. But then we were like, for further media inquiries, and then you'll write, you can say, you know, if you want some case studies, get in touch with us, etc. I think the other thing is to say that, as well as using sort of like a digital online thing on your website, and either whether you have that, you know, sort of on your homepage accessible to everybody, or you've hidden it and you share that link with journalists when you send them press releases.
Yeah.
You know, think about it, having it in a more accessible way. So you might want to put it on a USB stick, have some with you when you go, you know, when you're doing either an event or a speaking gig, and really shape that to the types of journalists that are attending as well. So the example that I use is, like, if you've got a dog grooming business and you are launching a kit at the NEC dog show,
Yeah.
have on that USB some photos of dogs being groomed, photos of your products, and facts and figures on dog grooming. But also you can then give that to the journalists whilst you're having a chat with them, or you can leave it in their sort of media centre. You know, someone like the NEC Dog Show, Horse of the Year Show, all those really big events will have media centres where the journalists will go and be able to pick things up.
Yeah, and also you want to almost, on that note, slightly off topic, slightly, it's good to befriend the PRs at these events, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know, and get them, because they will be looking for case studies to kind of promote the event and be a success story. So you can give them a positive success story if you were exhibiting, and tie it in with the event. You've probably got a case, a chance of being picked up, and that you're working together. So that could work and go hand in hand, couldn't it?
Yeah, and I think, you know, even if you were at an event, like a networking event, and you got chatting to a journalist who wasn't particularly looking for a story sort of that you've got at the time, even if they've got that in their pocket or on their desk or in their drawer, when they want to talk to you about something. So, like when I was at St John Ambulance, you know, the best thing in the world, because the journalists were coming to me because I'd spent all that time giving them all that information. So that's where they sort of like having a media press pack is really good, because they can see that you put the effort in and that you are a really good contact for them to have when they get a story on the topic that you are an expert in. You know, we are experts in our own fields.
And it doesn't have to be, does it? And by the way, we can't see you. We can only just...
Oh, I'm really sorry.
No, it's okay, because actually it might be that the sound's a bit easier, but you can perhaps try it on, and if it goes back into, you know, we'll turn you off again, but the power of technology. But we can't see you, so it's not a problem. But what I was going to say was, there you go. In terms of using a press pack, at what point? Is it only when you have a press release, or could it be also, for example, I'm a big believer of just sometimes introducing yourself to the media, because sometimes they want experts or they want different stories. You know, you don't particularly need a press release. You could just have a headline or an angle, or pitching an idea. Is it still okay to have a press pack then?
I think definitely, because what you're saying is like pitching in an idea. If you pitch in an idea and then you don't have anything to back it up, all you're doing is pitching in an idea. If you pitch in an idea and then you say, and this is like the story, you have to, like, it's changed so much. So like 25 years ago, when I was like writing press releases and starting out, you would really, the journalists have got all the time in the world. They would, like, our local paper had 5 photographers. That's not the case anymore. So you're trying to make their lives as easy as possible by almost writing the story for them. And one of the things that we talked about at the NEC was about giving permissions. So every time you update your media pack, make sure that you've given permissions to use the photos, to use the quotes. So actually, that freelance journalist that's writing the story overnight on a deadline doesn't need to come back to you. It's all there.
No, that was a really good point, because Claire Bullivant from Bullivant Media was talking about that, and she was saying there's nothing more frustrating as journalists where we think we found a filler and we want to use it, but we haven't got the permission and we can't get hold of them. So as long as you're comfortable, obviously, give permission to be able to use it the way that they want to use it.
And one of the things I would say was, when you put this information together, so you might have a document with some quotes, a document with case studies, your images, don't put your copy in a PDF, because journalists will want to cut and paste your content, and if it's a PDF, it makes it really difficult. Just leave things in Word document.
Oh, does it? See, that's interesting. So you learn something new every day, because I thought you could copy and paste text from a PDF.
You can, but it's a real pain.
You used the word there. I could see that something else. But yes, okay. So guys, you put your questions down, which is really helpful. So thank you. Really, please put your questions down and then start going through them. Does anybody in the group have a press pack? If you have, put yes in here. Yes, I have a press pack. And then we can perhaps have a chat to you, or do you have a press page or something like that you can do? But I'm just going to go to a few questions. This is really good stuff. And I love it when I learn something new as well. Anyway, so if I have varying stories for different parts of my business, would I include a number of different press releases or focus on one story? Great question.
Oh, great question. Great question. I would say have a suite of case studies. So you've got an overview of your business, and then different case studies for each area of your business. Yes. Otherwise, the messaging is too complicated. Just make it really, really simple. So actually, if you were a business, say, that had 5 key product areas, you could have a press pack for each of those key product areas. And some of the content might be the same, but actually, a journalist will come on, see your media pack. I'm just going to take the example of the beauty products again. So your business has beauty products, and they might just be interested in the soaps or in the face creams or the men's products. So you could have like 5 documents there that they could pull down and use. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's really great. And in truth, that makes sense also, because some businesses will be targeting both B2B or B2C or different sectors. So different press packs to the journalist might be relevant in a slightly different style and a different approach. So if you go in B2B, it's more technical. You might be able to write it slightly differently to that journalist as a B2C kind of thing. So would you recommend perhaps, maybe having a press page, and then, or you just send them to do different links, do you?
I think if you've got a really big business where you've got several different product lines, you could definitely break that down into however many different sort of documents. Press pack for our men's grooming products, press pack for our ladies' bath time products, so I mean, you don't want to be too diverse, and you don't want to make it too much, but I think, somebody who's writing about men's grooming doesn't need to necessarily know all the ins and outs of the face cream makeup for ladies, so try and streamline it so it's clear. But I would, have a choice, actually.
I suppose it's like anything. It's making it accessible and as simple to the journalists as possible, isn't it? So that they can be quick to get the access to the information when they need it, so it's targeted. So another question from Polly is, and Ben put this as well, is how much is too much information? What info would you put first and prioritise?
I would prioritise background information about your business, your story as a business.
Well,
so
whether you're saying this, let me screen share and see if I've got up actually what we kind of put together what's in the press pack, because this kind of comes off then, this, doesn't it? And just so that you know, guys, I'm going to add this into the Media Matchmaker Club, so you can access this here. So in terms of what you've put here, hopefully...
Oh, yep, there we go. Basically, that's everything that I'm looking at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's good because it shows us kind of, so what to include in the press pack. This is the bit that's of importance, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's the background information.
Yeah.
The organisation or your personal biog, what's your actual story, logo and images and contact information, and that is absolutely sort of vital, basically. So if we take the example of the press pack that I did for my garden at Gardener's World Live, it had a one-page synopsis of the garden design. It had one page about the designer, one page about the landscape and who built it, and the plants, and it had another page about the guy that had supplied all the glasswork.
And would you be able to share that with us, Amanda? Not maybe now, but send it to us so that we can upload it as an example, or is it?
Do you know what? I can. No, I can. It's a photo somewhere. But yeah, I can do. I mean, that is like proper old school, but it would give you the sort of general idea of what it's like. And I would say that first tranche where it says background, organisation, logo, images, I would say that's the very basic that you should be including.
And again, this comes down to then looking at this here. It's all laid out for you. You guys, you're going to get a copy of this template here, and this is just a suggested template that's out there. And again, if you go into Canva, so you can just literally change this. You might want to change your fonts to go with, you might have your own corporate fonts or your colours to you know, your own style, but this just gives you kind of something to kind of to base off and follow you know, what Amanda's saying. So everything pretty much that you've covered off there is in here as well, isn't it?
And I would say have a look at some examples. So I actually did, because I'm doing a Christmas guide at the moment for one of my clients, I did actually go onto the media centre for John Lewis and look at their Christmas stuff. And it's all laid out there. You know, journalists that want to feature their products, they just like can download the images. They've got some background information, you know, when their Christmas film comes out, all of that stuff. So have a look at other people's as well. But I would say this that we're going to share with you, that has got the basics on it.
Has that come through the chat, guys? Because I've sent it twice. I'm not sure if it's come through, but that's just highlighted the questions. Has it come through to you? It tends to come through afterwards on this, which is really, you're going to get access to it. I'm just going to put test here and see if that goes. See, that's come through. Oh, has it come through now?
There you go. Yeah, I've got it.
Bizarre, isn't it? Got it. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so someone's just joined, and guys, any questions you can ask, because you know what, if you don't know, you don't know. So someone's put, just started of it because of the connection. I'm a bit confused. I sent out a press release, and then if a journalist is interested and gets in touch, I send them a press pack. Sorry for answering. No, it's a great question. Do we send them together? Is it an attachment? Is it underneath? Come on, let's.
Okay, so I would say put it as a link. So you could, like when you're emailing, so you're emailing out your press release. Hi Sandra, here's the story I think you'd really enjoy, and I think your readers would really enjoy. Press release is below, and actually, if you want any further information, here's the link to my my press pack. Give me a call if you need anything else.
Perfect.
And that way, it's all there for them.
Yeah.
And they once they read your press release, if they want all that background information, it is there. So yeah, would I send it? Yeah, I think sometimes I would send it actually. Yeah, especially if it's a link. Definitely.
Brilliant. Any questions, guys, that you've got? Anybody want to unmute and ask a question? It's a bit scary, isn't it? You know. But anybody want to? Jackie, nice to see you. I haven't seen Jackie Booth for a while. Anybody want to ask a question and mute themselves? Polly, Rachel, Pamela, anybody? Ben? No?
Yes, I do have a question. Hi. I was just I was wondering, when it comes to your story, some people are very interested in a very personal background and where you've come from and what made you kind of do what you do, but then other people really aren't, and they're interested in what it can get. So do you include that in your press pack? Do you get very personal? Do people want to know that kind of information? Or
I would say, yeah, I would say so. You know, you can give a description of your organization and what it does. And then if the story is, you know, if your business has been set up through a personal journey of your own, I would include that, because it's not that, were you in the NEC?
Yes.
Did you yes. Hello.
Hello.
So do you remember where we were trying to get the stories like really into one sentence, and everybody kept saying, I'm not interested in you, I'm only interested in what's going on for me? The thing about the press pack is that you get that chance to expand on your story. So you've had that interaction with the journalist, they're interested in your story, then they'll want to know more. So the press pack is basically all those bits that all those journalists
don't want to know it at the beginning.
Didn't want to know originally. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Excellent.
And I suppose it's all in context, isn't it? It's relevance to the audience. Again, it's matching the press pack to the media outlets and their readers and their audience. Yeah. So if it's a marketing today and it's just purely about business, and they don't do case studies, or, you know, then it's not relevant. But if it's something like Psychology's magazine that a lot of business women probably would read, they might want the backstory. So I suppose it's just adapting things together, isn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
I do have another question.
Brilliant.
Excellent.
What's the difference between a press release and a case study? Because the press release is explaining what you do, and so I imagine the case study does as well, so I'm not sure.
No.
Yeah.
No. So a press release is let's take the soap example. Let's continue to run with that. I'm a business, I've got a new soap, it's amazing, it's for gardeners, and it makes your hands super soft when you've been gardening. It's a new product, nobody's used, let's say, goat's milk before in this way. That's the item. Here's a new product, it's exciting, and it's going to change the way the gardeners wash their hands after they've been gardening. That's the press release. The case study is, here is Jonathan. He's been using this soap for the last 6 months when he's been gardening, and this is what has happened and the difference that this product has made to him, and you know, it's lasted all this time, it's sustained. That's the case study.
And that kind of helps you back up your product, as it were. Yeah.
But equally, though, that scenario is great, and that hand cream sounds great, or whatever the soap is. That's great. So you could actually lead with a case study as the story, though, couldn't you? As often, sometimes they will just want to know about that. Jonathan's hands is amazing now, and he's attracted this wonderful woman because he's got goats. Whatever this, I don't know, whatever scenario you're going to use. Could be the story. The case study could just be the press release. And this is where it comes to clever kind of PR, and sometimes you might just want to lead with a case study as opposed to the story, because sometimes the press release is the so what really, that is made by goat's milk, or I'm trying to remember this. Gardeners. It is quite a good story because it's niche, so you'd send it to Homes and Gardens magazines or the lifestyle sections, so you've actually got your story there because it's niche. You've got a hook to it, but you could potentially also lead with the case study as well, couldn't you?
And I think it's to go back to Rachel's point, is it depends on the media that you want to be in. So to continue that analogy is that places like Country Living and Homes and Gardens, they'd want to have the sort of more fluffy aspect of the hand cream, where it's like the business section or the news section in your local paper is more, it's more newsy, it's more facts and figures. So again, it's really thinking about who you want to reach and what you want to say, and then using the press pack behind that to support what you're doing.
Those are good points, and feel free if you've got any other questions to put you've got a question. And those are really good points, because that story could be changed in lots of different ways. Because if you're a local person, it could be a great local story. An entrepreneur is set up now and he's helping people in the local community, and then you lead with the story. Or it's a case study, there's a gardening magazine because he's changed gardeners' lives and they use the case study with it. Or from a B2B point of view, and the fact that they're manufacturing it and how they're manufacturing and where they're manufacturing. Oh, look at that little bit. How they're manufacturing it. It could run in different sectors, the same story. When we had Mums in Control, we just took almost the same press release but tweaked it to the audience, which is, I guess, what we're saying with the press packs and the media packs, isn't it?
Yeah, and the press pack is really sort of, once you've decided what your press release is going to do, the press pack is about supporting all of that with background information. So you can still tweak that for where you're going to send your press release, but it's giving journalists all the other bits and pieces that they would want to come. You know, they want pictures, they want logos, they, you know, case studies, frequently asked questions, all of those things. Do they? Oh, so Ben has asked, do they keep your press packs? I think they used to. Because they used to be paper. Now, digitally, press packs are quite often on websites, or they can be downloaded. So that's the other thing. They might just download your press pack and then they've got it there. So I think they would do. If you're building relationships with local journalists or you know, in a particular trade mag, they probably will keep it, and they'll keep it on file, and they'll go, oh yeah, what did they say about X, Y, and Z, and they'll come back to it.
But again, if you're going to send them a link, again, just from a technical point of view, do you send them a link to something like a Dropbox file or a Google Doc, or is it a PDF that they can download and therefore how big or how small? What's the...
It's just a really good question, because I've sort of been doing a little bit of sort of asking colleagues on other forums. Lots of people do use Google Docs and Dropbox. I have a Mac that hates both of those. So find what is comfortable for yourself as well. And that makes it as accessible as possible.
Well, it might be you've got a WordPress site and you can have a page where you can download something, you know, so there's different, essentially you're going to hide your page. So that could work. That could work well. But yeah, I think you're right. Gone are the days where they print stuff off or they take it. Or to be honest, I'm not sure they even want loads of stuff. You know what it's like yourself when you come back from an exhibition. What do you really do with those exhibition packs? You go through them as much as you know and go, oh, I'm just going to keep that leaflet there just in case I contact it in a few weeks. Like we just,
oh yeah.
So keep in mind, keep up to date, keep contacting them, saying, you know, and put the link to the press pack underneath. So they've got, oh, look at her. So yeah, exactly, Rachel. Yes, absolutely, we're all the same. Any other questions, guys, on this topic before we move on? If we've got any generic topics, we can come on to that in a minute. We've got a bit of time because we'll keep it open up to the hour. But is there any other questions relating to press packs or media packs that anybody's got? You can either kind of put it in the text or just shout out, be part of it. No, I like it when that happens. Okay, so it's been really useful, I think, because it's a simple tool, but it's a necessity, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you're going to go to the trouble of getting your story there, and you've got a journalist interested, and then you've gone off on holiday because you sent it 3 weeks ago, and they've just picked up on it. It's great that you can give them all it's just enhancing. They've got everything they need on you, and that they're accessible, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And I think you know, when you're doing something that's multidisciplinary or you're working in collaboration, that's when having that information in one place is really useful. Yeah. So if you know, if you are a garden designer and you're building a garden at the Chelsea Flower Show, you'll be working with lots of different people. You'll have the designer, you'll have the landscapers, you'll have all the suppliers of everything that's on there. So actually you've got lots of information that you've got to collate in one place. So if any of you guys are working with other people on a specific event, then bring everything into one place where everybody's got equality in what they're writing. So everybody's got a case study or everybody's logo is there, and then that makes it really easy for a journalist to put together a piece, especially, for instance, maybe like a county magazine that's doing a bridal feature. You know, if you're working on something with other people in collaboration, having it all ready, and then they would just run with that.
Something else as well, I'm going to tell you two things actually. One, I'm going to talk about surveys and how you could potentially get more customers by putting a press pack together. So I'm going to come back to that in a minute. But the other question I was going to ask was, and it's that age where I've reached in my life and I can't remember, in terms of the, oh God, it's gone. I knew I couldn't remember both. That's why I had to say it. I was both. In terms of, that's it, case studies, do you need to get permission in advance?
Oh gosh, yes.
basic stuff, you know, but sometimes you just don't know.
Yes. Okay. So you can write a case study, always get permission, but you can always change people's names, make it non-specific. So recently, you might have seen on the page, I was a case study. Rather than writing the case studies, I was the person that was in the case study, and I saved somebody's life. But I felt that because that person hadn't given permission, we couldn't identify him or where the incident took place, or anything that would identify him. So you do have to make sure you've got permissions, and write that case study, and then go back to the person and go, are you happy with this?
Yes, that's always the key, because we know people are busy, don't get time to write a case study, and also they're not going to write it quite in the language that you want. So always perhaps suggest it and get permission to say, can I tweak it if I need to in the future? You know, and just kind of ask permission first, but always get, like you say, and then if you need to, because some businesses are really sensitive, you know, some people, maybe it's weight loss management or depression or anxiety, whatever it is, they might not want to say, oh yeah, you know, you've cured me. They're just...
And I would say, if you need some sort of ideas there, the charity sector is brilliant for that, because quite often they're dealing with really sensitive issues, and so they will use case studies, but change people's names. But how they write case studies for fundraising is it's very concise and short, but says what it needs to. So if you need some inspiration, I'd look at some of those.
And would you put any stats in? I mean, obviously stats could be good as their own press release anyway, but would you put any stats maybe to kind of back up that you're an industry leader, you know what's going on, that could be of use to them, and could that work as well in a press pack?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, charities quite often will put their link to their annual accounts and end of year reports, but you could do the same. You could put information about how you've grown your business in the last 5 years, and within your sector you're now the market leader. It just gives some background information. I think anything like that you think is pertinent to where you want to place your secure your coverage, and who you want to speak to as well. I think that's the other thing when you're putting your packs together, like when you're putting your press release together. Just think what message you want to get across. So
the other thing as well, obviously you guys are doing your PR because it's part of your marketing strategy, and most of us are doing marketing to position ourselves or get new customers. One of the things, especially if you're kind of like a B2B industry, what a great way to open doors is to say you're working with the media. So you could use it as, I'm working with the media, we're just putting some case studies together for our press pack. Just wondered if I could come and talk to you about this, or we're working with the media and we've got some, we've got our statistics that we'd love you to kind of give your feedback on. And it's a great door opener and kind of welcome through the back door, because people are like, oh, you're going to get us publicity. It's just one leads into the another. So it's just a nice little marketing tip. Sometimes that does work.
Can I just ask another question? I'm just thinking about when you're writing these press releases and case studies, I did well in English literature at school, I got an A, but I'm not a writer. And I'm thinking, you're not actually writing the story necessarily as it would be published. Like, the journalist still writes the story. You're just giving them the information. You don't have to write it like a newspaper article or something, have it really copyright, you know, copywritten
No.
and all of that kind of thing. That's what worries me, because I'm like, I don't know if I can write this.
I see a whole other session there about writing case studies.
It is a whole other session, and maybe it's one we'll do, but let's answer anyway, because it's relevant.
Yes, okay, so I would say, like writing a press release, writing a press release is once you get into it, it's quite formulaic quite a lot of the time, and probably writing a case study is the same. You've got to set out what the problem was, how you came to the solution, what the solution was, and the outcome. So if you just stick to those key 4 points and keep things concise, you're not looking at writing 3 pages of A4. You want something short and sharp that sets stuff out. What the problem was, how you solved the problem, what was the outcome. And if you keep that in mind, it will keep you quite focused, basically, and give you the basics of writing a case study.
Also, Rachel, some people will say, you know, look, if you can write the press release, it does help them because they can lift it and send it off. And again, look at where you want your press release to be featured. What is the average length of the article? What's the headline look like? And kind of mirror their style. But equally, as we've interviewed lots of journalists in back interviews, if you've got a story, as long as you put the headline in your grab, they'll write it. But if you write that, perfect, because you probably have got a higher chance that they can just lift it, you know, and use it. But it's not going to stop them if you've got a great story, because their job is to be the journalist, their job is to write the article. And some freelancers, especially if you're connected to freelancers, they get paid to write articles, they get paid to pitch your story and to get it featured. So don't necessarily feel you always have to do it. But I think there's 2 things there, you know. You can never beat how to write a press release, because they are quite formulaic, like you said, Amanda, but everyone's slightly different in how they do it. It's still so scary. We're just scared to write them because, you know, it's just scary. Journalists are scary. So if you have different examples, and also how to write a case study, I think would be helpful, you know, to how to kind of write, you know, in the future.
I would say, you know, I've been writing press releases for a really long time, and I still sit down in front of my laptop and just go, what am I doing? And I have to really remind myself that, you know, that is what, just with the, I would say with a press release and writing a case study, just start and then self-edit afterwards. Just get it all down and then edit afterwards, especially with a case study, because you've got a lot more flexibility.
And that's good to know, because you're obviously successful in what you do on the grounds you've been doing it for so long. So this just like moment just transpire into something that the journalists do pick up on. So that's good. It makes us feel better. So Ben has asked, do you strategically link to individual podcasts, YouTube relevant videos, or the channel as a whole, so they get the full picture? Well, that's a good point. So I think you're asking, Ben, do you think, is it individual links you mean, or to one page where all, I can't quite understand that. Should you into individual podcasts? Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
Is that better? I'll unmute.
There you are.
If it's relevant to the subject, do you send them to that podcast or YouTube video, or do we send them to the whole channel so they can get more of a picture of what the business is about or what it's about?
I would say if you're wanting to talk to a specific audience or on a specific topic, I would link it to that specific podcast. In a general press pack, I would say link it to your channel as opposed to a specific one. So you might be writing a press release specifically about one topic that maybe you've covered in your podcast, link those 2, but then in your press pack, yes, because you want to show people the breadth of what you're doing, and that you've got lots of other strings to your bow and you do lots of other things. So I would say in your press pack, yes, to your channel. For specific press releases, you can always include that in what we call the boilerplate underneath. So on a press release template, you'll see that there's a boilerplate underneath where it says ends and contact, and that gives you can put some information in there, a small piece of background information. And does that help?
Yeah,
that's great, Alice. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Really do.
Brilliant. Thank you. And I think likewise as well, if you've done like a soundbite, you know, you can put a link to that, or if you've done a video, you can put a link to it, because it shows them what you look like, what you sound like, all these, anything you can do to help them and make their life easier is a good thing, isn't it? Is there any final questions before we wrap this up? Anybody wants to ask about media passes and press packs that you need to know? Or what I can do is stop recording here, and then if you've got any other questions that just generic, while we've got Amanda on, we've got another 10 minutes, you are more than welcome to, or we can wrap up, because I appreciate it's the end of the evening. See you. Oh, Sarah, it's not Sarah, is it?
Yes,
someone's put their hand up.
Please.
Oh, Sarah. Sorry, you've got a question, Sarah. Brilliant. Fire away.
Strictly speaking, well, I haven't got anybody to do a case study on at the moment. When I was looking at doing my press release, I thought I could use a celebrant who's really bought into what we've done, and a local funeral director who's really on board. But because it's a fairly sensitive topic, I haven't really got a customer I can do a case study about. I'm going down that road by using a celebrant and a funeral director.
What you could do is use them as like testimonials to get them to talk about how they work with you or how they're going to be working with you. So although it's not a full case study, what you're showing, you know, when I was saying about collaboratively working with people, you could have them help you by saying, we're going to be working with Sarah in an X, Y, and Z way. We like, I can't remember what you do. I know we've met at the NEC.
It's relevant for anybody that's watching this on catch up as well, so we can put it into context for you.
Yeah. We've got Mid England Barrow, the Barrow for the Story.
Yeah. So you might be sort of bringing in what we would call sort of testimonials from other organisations that you would be working with that help you provide your service, and that way they're getting some coverage as well. So I can't see why they wouldn't want to be a part of your press pack, especially if you said, we're putting together a press pack. We're going to use it to give journalists a wider story. Would you be interested in putting some of your information into our pack? Which is like when I was talking about the one for the garden design, you know, we had the people who supplied the plants, the people who had supplied the hard landscaping, you know, the designer, the builders, everybody's information was in there. And I think you could do the same. So although you haven't got a case of this such, you're showing that how you're demonstrating how you're working. Does that make sense?
And I think it's good because to be honest, Sarah, your story lends itself for TV. We've talked about this before. I really can see how it's going to look on TV as a central news bulletin or something like that. They'll cut away, they'll perhaps film a funeral, which they can kind of take, whether it's one of yours, or they'll go in and they'll speak to the funeral director, and they'll speak to the celebrant, and then they'll speak to you, and you know, so it's a good tea. So if you could have them on board, absolutely brilliant. No, I think it would work really well. We've got a message, final question from Polly. Once you've written a press pack, do you just send it to any media outlet within reason that you think might be interested, or is there a special place to find out who wants what kind of story? Is there a special place to find out? In terms of, I mean, you answer it to how you feel, Amanda.
Okay, I would say no. I would say your press pack is really to support your press release and to be like on your website where journalists can go and to further your conversation. So your initial contact really should be your press releases and something that's short and sharp that gets them into your story, and then your press pack is afterwards. So I would never send your press pack as a pitch in, really. I would No.
You can pitch in your expertise. Hi, just wanted to connect with you. You're the business editor. This is what I'm an expert in. If you ever need any topics, so I've got some articles, here's the link to my press pack. You can kind of pitch in that way. And then once a month, you might want to contact them again and just say, just to remind you, I'm still here in light of Brexit that's coming out, or the general election and businesses and how it's going to affect. So be topical and just change your email, maybe probably each time, so that it's topical to the journalist each time, but kind of said the same blooming message. But the database, if you ever want access for any of you, we have different media passes. So the VIP media pass, which you've all got because you're on this call, gives you the training and gives you access to all these kind of like PR Hour lives that we do, and the Meet the Journalists events online that we do, and the resources. If you've got an Access All Areas media pass, that's access to our media database, and that's your own media database. So you can look up any journalist by any sector. And I think, Jackie, you've got access to this, haven't you? So you look at the journalists by any sector, and you can send your press releases or your emails direct through the database to the right type of journalists, and then you yourself and put your links to your press packs.
I do. Just one thing to add there is don't forget that actually you've got lots of other ways of saying that you've got a press pack as well. You know, don't forget you can use your digital platforms, your social platforms to say, you know, I've got a really great story. I've just put together my press pack. If anybody's interested, here's the link. Because then that's the same sort of thing. You're putting it out there that you've done a press pack and it's there. If somebody is interested in picking up the more information about you, and using sort of your digital platforms to inform people that you've got, because it's really exciting. If you've written one, tell people about it when you're starting off. You know, I think there's no harm in saying, just put together my press pack, take a look. I'd love to know what people think, you know. So yeah,
I think you almost need to give them a little something, because it's the so what moment, why they're going to open it. You know, you need to give them a headline of what you do and what you specialize in. So hopefully that's answered. Any final questions, guys? I think that's been really useful. Have you found it useful? Brilliant. Which is great. So what we'll do is I will basically upload into Media Matchmaker Club the link to this kind of template, and also the questions. You're welcome, everyone, for thank you or private messages, and so that you'll have access to that. Then we'll also be a repeat of this. If you might be watching this on catch up already, but obviously I'll put the repeat in there as well, so you can watch this and go through it quietly, you know, step by step, and just listen back to it if you want to. Amanda, thank you so much for your time. It's been really helpful. You know,
well, I'm sorry about my like little digital hiccups and stuff. I just feel like an old person. But yeah, and I think the thing about case studies, that's a really interesting point, and I'll try and get together some notes about writing case studies. So, and it's really nice to meet people that we've met at the NEC. That's fantastic.
It's lovely, isn't it? And it's lovely. And obviously, if you're watching this on catch up as well, hope you've enjoyed it. And thanks everybody. We're going to end this now. Amanda, I know I'm seeing you on another Zoom in a minute, but hope you have a great day, and we'll catch up with you all soon. Hopefully, if you haven't signed up already, we've got a Meet the Journalist event next week with Steve Highland on how to pitch your story on TV, an opportunity to pitch, and we are opening up some more TV opportunities. So please register for that if you want to come on board with that, because that's going to be fantastic as well. Amanda, thank you again. It's been an absolute
You're welcome.
See you all soon. Take care.
See you. Bye. Bye.